3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello, welcome to Coming to the Table with AASA, and I'm Brian Payton. In honor of Black History Month, we have the privilege of sharing some candid conversations with you. Those conversations will consist of why celebrating Black history is important, education, and overall health and well-being. We're joined today by a panel that has an array of education and experience in their profession. If I could do a brief introduction, to my left here, we have Mr. Tom Stilley, Executive VP and CFO, Mr. Edmund Hughes, Vice President, Human Resources and Administration, Ms. Joni Goodman, Quad Med Health Promotion Specialist, Ms. April Krieger, our Hero and EAP Coordinator, and Dr. Sonia Christian, Director of Talent Management. So first of all, thank you all for joining us. If we could start the conversation with you, Mr. Edmund. In regards to the recognition of Black History Month, why is it important, and how can we embrace the company's stance on diversity in the celebration?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today, Brian. Black History Month is extremely important because it's an opportunity to celebrate the history of individuals that in many cases we don't get while we're in school growing up. Those lessons are just not taught. And if I think of Black history, I think of an opportunity that I had several years ago. I got to attend the Black Engineer of the Year events in Washington, D.C. I attended this event with Hal Todd in engineering. And we were sitting at dinner at the Stars and Stripes dinner, and there was this distinguished gentleman that was sitting at the table with us. And Hal and I knew we knew this guy, but we just couldn't remember where we had seen his face before. There was a general sitting at the table who was escorting him for the night. And he said, well, yeah, you do know him, but we couldn't think of it. And he said, well, growing up, I know both of you read your Ebony and Jet magazine. Think of the guy who was sitting next to a jet fighter. And we said, we know him, but we still couldn't think of the name. He said, have you ever heard of Lieutenant General Frank Peterson? And Hal and I was like, yeah, because he's sitting on that, standing next to the plane. And so when you think of Black history and you think of the traditions, DDG 121 is named for Frank Peterson. But who was this guy and what's his significance? Well, one, he was the first Black aviator in the Marine Corps. He was the first Black Marine or Navy to command a tactical air squadron. And finally, he was the first Black 3-star general in the Marines. And when you think of Black history, you say, I had this wonderful opportunity to sit and have dinner with this gentleman. So that's one. And then you think of DDG 107, the USS Samuel Gravely. Well, who was Samuel Gravely and what's his importance? Well, Samuel Gravely fits several categories. First, he was the first to serve aboard a fighting ship as an officer. He was the first African American to command a ship. He was the first African-American fleet commander. And finally, he was the first African-American to become a flag officer. And you just think of those two small examples of history. And we here in the shipyard get to build the history of individuals who had that significance on us. And when I think of, well, why is that really relevant to us here at Ingalls Shipbuilding? Well, you just think the organization is taking the time to have this forum, to come to the table and have this discussion on the importance of Black history and why is that relevant. I believe that's why it's relevant. There are two individuals who our country has thought enough of to name a ship after. And those two individuals are a significant portion of Black history.
Thank you for those nuggets of knowledge on those distinguished gentlemen. Speaking of distinguished gentlemen, Mr. Tom, Dr. King, he he had a quote that he used in numerous speeches. The time is always right to do what is right. What does that mean to you?
Sure. Hey, Brian, I'd like to thank you for having me on the panel too here. I'm very pleased for the invitation. So for that quote, I put that famous Dr. King quote in context on what he stood for and what he had what he dedicated his life over, which was pushing for social justice and equality for all, right? The quote for me is so powerful because of its simplicity and the call for each of us to act and act now. I think most of us know when we see right and wrong. Inner voice speaks to me when I see that, and when I see a situation that's either unfair or just not right. I think what happens at times is people ask themselves, well, what can I do though when I see this happen? How do I act? Who do I talk to? Do I talk to right now? Is now the right time? Dr. King challenged each of us to stand up and to speak out when we see injustice immediately. And we must all stand up against injustice, and more importantly, it's never too late to act and do the right thing. In terms of its applicability, the phrase is timeless, and it's as relevant today as it was when he introduced it 50 years ago. Each of us, with our voice and collectively and peacefully, as Dr. King advocated, we need to act and get personally involved to do what's right.
Thank you. Thank you. And how do you personally apply that, Mr. Steele?
On a personal front, with regard to doing what's right, I've reflected on what I can do for social justice and equality for all. I've critically evaluated how my career has unfolded and asked have others had the same opportunities. When I look back, I've had 2 loving and degreed parents, a middle-income family, a solid foundational home with parents who valued education. I was fortunate enough to be able to get student loans along with parent-assisted funding for college. I had some internships at the company that my father worked for. So I had many things known and unknown to me at the time that worked for my benefit. Many barriers and obstacles were either not in front of me or they were removed along the way and improved my chances for success. So along with some hard work, it aided me getting my career moving forward. So I reflect on my path and experiences and use them daily, asking myself and acting on how can I assist, mentor, open doors, and give others opportunities to improve their quality of life.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that story. And as the sponsor for the African American Shipbuilders Association, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for the organization.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure to be part of AASA now for, I think it's going on 8 years. I've enjoyed my time here being the sponsor. We've done some great work as a team. I've seen several different boards, and just the enthusiasm, the focus, the ingenuity, and the purpose really has made my participation at AASA very enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. You definitely improved the posture of the organization. Ms. Joni, speaking of overall health, how does, when we make reference to the term living our best lives, how does being active improve your physical being and overall health?
Okay. First of all, exercise is paramount in our physical health and well-being, okay? It really enhances our quality of life in many areas. You know, one thing I think about all the time is for something to get stronger, for it to function better, we have to place a demand on it, a positive demand. You know, hey, whether it's our children, whether it's our mind, whether it's our employees, well, with exercise, it's our body. We're placing a physical demand, a positive physical demand on our body. As a result, our heart gets stronger, our lungs get stronger, our muscles, our bones. So the thing is that our blood flow functions better. Our body uses our oxygen more efficiently. You know, the bone density grows, muscles grow. So it's huge. And of course, health is wealth. Our health is a wealth. It is really important to have and live in our best life. As far as disease prevention, exercise, and it decreases risk of heart attack, of stroke, of type 2 diabetes. It lowers blood pressure. It lowers your bad cholesterol while it raises your good cholesterol. I mean, when you think about it, it promotes healthy sleep. It promotes weight loss. So many things that exercise does physically, but we really don't think as much of how psychologically it really promotes things. Okay, as far as depression, it decreases our depression, whereas it increases our feelings of our good feelings, just our good mood. It increases that. Stress. It diminishes our stress, where it really, really helps us to cope better. We're able to cope better with the next situation because we exercise. It gets our confidence, our self-esteem, our feelings of control. If we commit to an exercise program, okay, and the more we do it, the more we sense we have a feeling of accomplishments. You know, the more that we really sense that the well-being that we're doing. So paramount, really important. Two things. I know one thing someone asks me all the time, what's the best exercise to do? And the reality is whatever exercise you will do, that is the best exercise to do. The second thing they talk about is that they really don't have the motivation to exercise. I love this quote right here about motivation. Okay, the whole idea of motivation is a trap. Forget motivation, just do it. Exercise, lose weight, test your blood sugar or whatever. Do it without motivation, and then guess what? After you start doing the thing, that's when the motivation comes. It makes it easy for you to keep on doing it. And that's what I really always feel like, you know, we have to become the masters of ourselves, that we tell us, okay, hey, this is what you're gonna do. You know, so we actually plan our lives and we move our lives forward. We have that kind of control and we need to do it. One thing that Edmund and I, we work together a lot. One thing is with the gym, with the Fit Center. I know one thing Edmund said at the beginning of the Fit Center, he was like, hey, if we could get employees to start exercising, then the rest is gonna come naturally. And it's true that the folks that we have that are exercising, their health is getting better. Right, Edmund? Yeah. Then another thing that we do is the 5K. Every year we have a 5K, and every year it's continuing to grow. And the thing is that our whole focus is, hey, how can we make fitness fun? How can we make fitness that folks want to participate in it? So, like I said, I know I've really appreciated working with Edmund on those two projects. So.
Thank you for that information. Personally, I have participated in the program that you have, and I want to thank you for everything that you do. I really feel like you're doing yourself an injustice if you don't participate in the health and wellness program. Just a plethora of resources and information. Thank you. So we definitely can't talk about physical health without touching on mental. So we'll roll right into Miss April. In regards to mental health, could you touch on some of the stigmas that are associated with mental health in the African American community and what resources are available in the facility for those that are in need?
Yes, thank you, Brian, and thank you for allowing me to be here and be a part of this.
Thank you for
joining.
joining.
You know, I think mental health is so important, and sometimes it's overlooked, so I do appreciate being here. And just like Joni was saying about the physical health, you know, physical health and mental health go together so well, and they have to. You know, to work together to be a whole person. And so with mental health, what happens, there's so many stigmas that happen with mental health because people don't understand it. You know, and the big part is education, is educating people about mental health, what it means, not to be afraid of it, but to embrace it and understand it and know how it can make a difference physically and every aspect of relationships, you know, how important it is. And so with mental health, it's in the African American community, one of the things I think is the most biggest part of the stigma is that because there's such a strong faith in African American communities most of the time. And so it's like when it's present like that, a lot of times they go directly just to the faith. And I think faith is a very important part of it. But also I understand with faith is we know that people are brought into our lives to help support us and give us more resources to be able to use. And that's what we're supposed to do, is come together as a community or a family or, you know, anything of that nature, a country or whatever it is. And so we're brought together to work together. And so that's the part of the stigma that happens, is a lot of times is they stop just at the faith.
You know, April, it's funny you bring that up. It's just so true in the African American community that mental health is just so taboo. I can remember being a child and having some issues around 9 and 10 with depression and seeing visions and things of that nature. And my mom would say, hey, we're just going to pray about it. And my father just made a decision at one point and say, hey, we need to do something different. We need to seek some medical help for Sandia, to get her some help. And I can remember for 2.5 years, I would go every Friday at 4:45. And I would be out playing with my friends after school, and my mom would say, Sandia, it's family time. So that meant we were going to the therapist. So we didn't tell anyone. It was nothing that we told anyone. It wasn't until I got older and understood that I started to talk about it. So thank you so much for sharing that piece. That's just so, we just need the education piece of that, of mental health.
Well, I appreciate your courage, and also to talk about that, because of the fact is that, that's so important, is for people to understand it's okay. And look how successful you are today, and what a great opportunity for that. And it was about stepping outside of the comfort zone of the stigma of something. So that's a great, story and a great situation for you and success. So thank you for sharing that, for sure. And the thing about Ingalls, Huntington Ingalls, that I'm so passionate about, is because of the HERO program here and the EAP program here is phenomenal. And that's where it's like I get so passionate about it, and so important for people to understand that, because you guys allow, as a company, you give people opportunities to handle things, to get things resolved in their family, get things settled down, deal with the problems that we have, and then turn around and they can be better employees. And that's what really EAP programs and HERO program is all about, is getting the best employee to be their most productive. And that's what this program is all about. So it's there's so many aspects of it. You can get 8 free sessions per topic. So if it's like marriage counseling, you can get 8 free sessions for that. Then you can turn around and maybe if there's some depression and they didn't realize, they can get 8 free sessions for that. So you get 8 free sessions per topic per year. So there's no really reason why anybody should pay for counseling as an employee or a family member or somebody who lives in your household. So these are all benefits that are available to people that live in the house with you as an employee. There's a great, you can call 855-400-9185, which is the Anthem national number that people can call to get resources available. There's a great website there at hero.com, thank you, and that they can go get resources. There's great literature on there about medications, about how to communicate with people, and there's just so many resources that are available on the website. So to be able to reach out to that and have that opportunity, they could always call me. I'm an on-site provider here in the yard at 935-2004. And so these are all great resources, and really just to kind of help families come together. And maybe if it's marriage counseling, if it's an adjustment, just of somebody going through a divorce, that can be very difficult. Or say you have a child that's graduating from high school and really don't know what to do because they're not sure what they want to do. That's an adjustment. And so we help them with that, and so that way they can move on and be successful in their life and productive. So thank you so much for including mental health. And if anybody should ever want to, continue a conversation, I think it should be in every household, just over coffee or just in general, because we really want to get this to people, and especially children, so that they don't have that stigma, and hide and deal with and suffer with the problem for a long period of time. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for sharing that information. And Ms. Sonia, thank you for being so candid and sharing your story. You never know how your body is going to react to stress. This is a stressful environment that we're working in, and anyone that's tuned in is not using these resources, you're really doing yourself an injustice. Me personally, I've utilized the EAP program and got some outstanding results. The 8 sessions that you speak of, nothing out of the pocket, good information. Sometimes you just need a ear, bounce things off and make you look at things a little different. So thank you for sharing that information. So that's an awesome benefit. I would like to talk about some of the educational benefits that Ingalls has at the present time. So education is vital to our personal and career development. Could you speak on some of the educational benefits that are available within the company?
Sure, Brian. Thank you. And thank you again for having me on the panel.
Thank you.
And thank AASA as well. One mentor of mine said 20-something years ago to me, always try to make yourself better. Just make yourself better. And when I think about Ingalls Shipbuilding and what we have to offer and from an education perspective, the first thing I think about is our education assistance program. Our education assistance program, individuals can enroll in the program yearly. It pays up to $52.50 a year for individuals. That's the IRS standard. For individuals to get education outside in a higher education learning setting. So those individuals can go and get an associate's degree. They can get a bachelor's, a master's, even a doctorate with approval. We also offer inside the company through various vehicles. We offer for our learning and development, we have our Legacy Builders, which is a mentoring program. We have Legacy Builders mentoring, which is for management mentoring and executive mentoring. We also have an individual contributors mentoring program as well through Legacy Builders. And what it does through the mentoring piece is you get with individuals who have more knowledge than you have in some cases and know the company better. And you learn through that way and you develop over a period of time. And it goes for about like a year at a time. I also think about our other educational settings like the technical pieces of it, like in finance, engineering, and supply chain. Each one of those organizations have technical training and within each one of them where individuals can go and kind of make themselves better from a career and development perspective. It's done on their own time. And so these are opportunities that the company offers for educational perspective, so the individuals can take their own career, but take the bull by the horns, if I will, and kind of take control of their own careers. So I think that's a pretty amazing thing that the company offers. It also offers the ERGs such as AASA, employee resource groups, the career development pieces that the ERGs offer. So I think it's just a lot of things that people can just kind of use the pathway to help develop themselves over a period of time.
Thank you for sharing that information.
Thank you, Brian.
Those programs that you listed definitely alleviate the financial burden. Very attractive, very attractive. So sticking with that financial segue, I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Tom. When we talk about being completely balanced from a health perspective, could you speak briefly on the importance of financial health and what resources are available within the company?
Sure, great. Yeah, we've talked about the health side of both the physical and mental side of health. I put forth the proposition that financial health is also critically important, and I'd actually think that they're interwound between the physical and mental well-being at times, right? When I look at the financial health, it entails the quality of life and personal security that you have, right? A solid financial plan identifies reliable income, expenses, savings, and sound decision-making as we go forward with living expenses for housing and transportation. And valid planning for longer-term expenses, things like tuition for yourself or your family members, and retirement savings that make it possible for you to exit the workplace timely. But it all starts with a realistic and executable financial plan. Key to that is you have to write it down. Right? I mean, a lot of people talk about it, but you got to get a pen and pad and write it down. You got to start with your personal budget. You list both your income and your expenses. Have a plan on how that income can grow. So you make X amount today, but over time your skills will grow. Maybe you'll get promoted here, someplace else. Additional education, skills, projects, successes. You should be worth more in the marketplace in the future. So that's something that everybody should be thinking about. How can I grow my income, right? You should understand and have a prudent way of managing where you spend your hard-earned money on your expenses. A lot of people don't know where their money goes, or they don't actually list it all so they can actually realize how much they're spending on Netflix or going out to dinner or things of that nature. So I think that's important. Minimize debt on credit cards, large mortgages, and car loans. That's important. And then ensure that you have a realistic and dedicated plan towards saving accounts for those educational needs and retirement goals that we spoke about. I can't underscore the importance of being financially healthy, which provides security for you and your family and eliminates the stress and anxiety over expenses in the future. Right? So that takes a lot of burden off you when you know that you have a solid plan that you're working with. With respect to the company, Ingalls is very focused on employees' physical, mental, and financial health. On the financial wealth, on the financial wellness front, it's far more than just your basic salary, right? The total compensation that we have here is about the paycheck, inclusive of overtime and attendance bonus. It's about our benefits package, health insurance, 401k plans, vacation, and the tuition reimbursement that we talked about. Work content and career opportunities. That itself will facilitate growth and income. So employees have to take those opportunities very seriously on times to either work on different projects or learn different skill sets. And then lastly, the work affiliations, things like the apprentice alumni, mentoring, and peer-to-peer engagements, all important. We hear 8 to 10 hours a day. Make the most of it and get the most value as you're here earning the paycheck that you're also investing in yourself. Lastly, I'd add in 2017, operations started the Smart Path program, which provided tutorials for financial wellness to shipbuilders and operations. It was such a successful program that in 2018, HR and the benefits department took that over and included it for all shipbuilders. They provide value-added classes that are offered monthly by reps trained to provide financial awareness and advice. So like in conclusion, I'd say make a plan, evaluate it often, stick to it, adjust it if necessary, depending on income and expenses, and really strive to maintain your financial health.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
I definitely agree with the concept that you said about putting pen to paper. Me and my family, we definitely do the budget sheets, or even if it's a vision board, just something about keeping things in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So in closing, I hope that you've been enlightened with the conversation with the panelists today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for tuning in. And we look forward to initiating more constructive conversation in the future with Coming to the Table with AASA.